Welcome to the Trades Podcast, a podcast about the business of home improvement and promoting the trades to young adults. That's right, promoting the trades to the young adults, to anybody out there listening and wanting to learn a little bit more about the trades. This is the Trades Podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Jeff.
We're excited to have some awesome insight from one of the biggest states in the country. We got Texas that's in the house. We got Jason. Jason, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. We're excited to have you on. You're covering the A-Tex Pest Management team. You're the president. You're the CEO. We're excited to have you on. Want to learn more about you, your business, the area, the culture, the industry, because Texas definitely has some pests that I'm sure that can be managed.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, go ahead, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are in the Trades Podcast world and get a little background.
Sure. So my name's Jason Napolski, originally from Ohio. So basically grew up in Ohio. My mother kind of remarried and moved to Texas and did some visiting down there. But that's what brought me down here. And currently, like you said, the president and CEO of A-Tex Pest Management. That's how I ended up coming down to the Texas area, just visiting and realizing how kind of fell in love with the weather, first of all. Not having 6 months worth of winter per year was a big bonus, but also just the state itself. The people were so kind, and just that southern down south attitude and politeness and so forth it was quite a bit of change from what I was used to up in the Ohio area.
How long ago was it before you made the move, Jason?
So I basically, once I finished up high school, which was 1993, dating myself here, but once I graduated, that's when I decided, hey, pack up and move, which was a big decision. All my family was still up there, other than my mother. So made the decision to move down, secure basically a warehouse job, just a normal job while going to school full time as well in the evenings. The original plan was chiropractic. So I was doing pre-med courses and doing all of that in the evening, working full time and going to school full time. So that's kind of how I got started in the Texas area initially.
All right.
Nice.
So any of the technicians hurt their back, you can get them a little adjustment and kick them back out in the field?
Yeah, I do get requests from time to time, but the no licenses, I try not to open myself to any of that liability.
I understand.
It's more the pest control, the pests that they're going to need some of those adjustments.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about your company.
We're not making them feel better. We're trying to get rid of them.
Tell us about your company. Do you specialize in any particular pest or general?
Absolutely. We're a full service company. So, we do pest control, your normal pest control. We're about 50-50 commercial, residential. So we handle home services as well as some very large commercial customers as well. We also specialize in rodent trapping, exclusion, which is basically securing the properties, sealing up areas to keep the rodents out permanently. And then also, of course, subterranean termite control and elimination as well.
We want to thank our sponsor. Superior Flooring Cabinet Designs is one of the landmark family-owned businesses in Encinitas. Owner Cheryl Robertson, with years of customer experience managing her family's hardware and cabinet business in North Park. Cheryl Robertson and the Superior team dive deep to learn about your project and help you find the perfect solution for your flooring and cabinetry needs. Call today at 760-436-0900 or visit www.superiorfloors.com.
As well.
Subterranean, do you have Formosan termites in that area?
Unfortunately, they have made it their way to Austin. They're not that prevalent. There's kind of pockets of them in specific neighborhoods.
Okay.
But they have made it here, unfortunately. And that's a challenge just because of their activity and what it takes to treat and eliminate those. It's a bit different.
They are a lot more aggressive. They definitely, for all the southern states, is a growing problem.
Absolutely. Just the, like you said, the size of the colony, which leads to, you know, quick, massive damage, structural damage, which you don't really see with the native or subterranean termites. Much smaller colonies. Most of the damage is cosmetic by the time we get in there and eliminate them, but with thrombosom, it just doesn't take long at all. And the biggest challenge is their nest doesn't stay underground on the mud and survive with the moisture they need there.
Do you guys do the repairs when you find damage?
We don't really provide damage warranties or things of that nature. Kind of what I've seen in the industry, even from the beginning, is a lot of companies that do offer damage guarantees or damage repair, especially before promotions. It just really wasn't needed. With it being cosmetic, maybe drywall, some minor repairs, the amount that the customer needs to pay annually to keep that damage guarantee typically far exceeds any repair cost. So it's actually a savings to the customer typically to do any repairs if needed. But most of the time, like I said, we don't see structural repairs with things that need to be repaired or replaced. Again, a lot of times drywall. They're going to look for the easiest cellulose material to feed on before they get to like the hardwoods, two by fours, things of that nature.
Yep. And a little bit different here in California.
Yeah, you guys probably have a lot of tents over houses and fumigation still going on there.
Oh, yeah.
There's the downside of that is there's no, as you're I'm sure you're aware, not really, there's no residual to it. So you could tent the house, eliminate them, and a few years down the road, be right in the same boat again.
Absolutely. Yep. But when you can't find all the termites and get to them, it's where the tinning comes in.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't offer that service here, even though that has been a bit of an issue with promotes. I'm not really sure of any competitors that do in our area. Down on the coast, they do, but they're trying to target them with their treatments. It's definitely challenging dealing with, and just making sure that it's the best experience that they can have.
Yeah, and let us know a little bit about your employees. How big is the team? What's the say general area? How far do you guys service?
Sure. So we're in the what we call the Austin metro area. Basically, it's Austin, Texas, and then about a 35, 40-mile radius. There's a lot of small suburbs and small cities surrounding us that are growing really fast. Austin is one of the fastest growing cities for a while there. It was the fastest. Have a lot of Californians that have moved out here, which of course we welcome them as well. So it's a good mix as far as the customers that we're serving. Pretty significant radius. We will travel outside of that a couple times a month for larger customers that have multiple locations or so forth. But in general, it's Austin in a 30-35 mile radius. There's plenty of people moving into the area, plenty of business here locally that we don't have to, we want to focus and keep it kind of hyper focused almost rather than trying to spread out and spread yourself thin and have quality be affected.
Yeah, and how big is the team? You said.
Currently, we're at 35 team members. That includes a full office staff, and then we have our service department kind of broken up into a couple of areas. One department handles your general pest control treatments in our residential and commercial areas. That's somebody that you would think of just to come to your home and do your routine pest control or your business. And then we have a special service department. I kind of say that's like the special forces in the military or something. They handle the tougher jobs, the Rona jobs, the termites that take a lot more time, effort, labor, just more difficult in general. And then we have a full sales team as well.
Yeah, I mean, just shine light on that space. I know just from Jeff and having past a guest on the show, there's different levels of tiers of licenses that you may need to handle specific pests out. Is that the same out there in Texas? What does that look like?
Yes, absolutely. So we're regulated by the Texas Department of Agriculture. Coming in without any experience, it's kind of plumbing or electrician, you have an apprentice license that you start under, still hold to this day.
Right, and that's there's specific training that goes into that, and beyond those licensing and those training, is that internal, or how do you source those trainings? Is that within the company?
Sure, absolutely. We have a very in-depth, detailed in-house training that everybody goes through to fulfill the classroom for the customer.
I'm sitting here looking at all our pictures. Do you have respirator rules out in Texas?
Not really. So it's kind of depends on preference more than anything, and of course safety. So if there's something, a small space or under a house or a very small area, or for instance, if we're treating an attic, which we'll often use a dust insecticide, we'll definitely have a respirator on it during that period of time.
Yeah. In California, it's basically if you're applying pesticides, you better have a respirator certificate. That means no beard.
Yeah, we don't really have that, but you do get respirator fit tests and all that to make sure, because
Yes.
there's not much reason to be wearing a respirator if it's not sealing and keeping out the bad stuff and letting you breathe that filtered air.
Yeah, and you know that all comes down to one, the paying attention. Obviously, you said you're governed by the State Department of Agriculture over in Texas, and keeping up with those regulations. And I'm sure that's a big role for you as the president and CEO to make sure that that's being passed down, and staying up on the licensing that you have in order to carry on the business. So that's a big role, and that trickles down into your training. That trickles down into how you retain really quality technicians to let them know, hey, you're getting trained on the most up to date information, and we're passing that along to the clients. As expectations from customers kind of evolve and change within the industry, how did you guys adapt that with your sales and service and approach to that aspect when customers are asking for different things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to, number one, stay in tune to the industry and the changes that are going on rapidly sometimes, but kind of consistently. And there's always evolution going on, which, you know, from our viewpoint in our industry, sometimes can be a negative because we get products and specific chemicals that get taken away just because of safety measures. And that's always a bit controversial. Most of the time, when it comes to products being restricted or removed, it's not really from licensed professionals applying them. It's usually somebody going to Home Depot buying a product, and they read the label and it says add 2 ounces and they think 6 ounces is better, or the whole bottle and something gets contaminated. But just keeping a thumb on the pulse of the industry, the newest products that are coming out. It's actually a good thing when some of those older products, in my opinion, get taken away, because then our great chemists and laboratories come up with better options, and often different modes of effectiveness that are going to be less of a danger to mammals and people and so forth, but very much more effective to the pests and the targeted insects that we're going after. Staying in tune with that, making sure that we're always evaluating the products that we use, the methods as well. It's not just the product, but our applications themselves. Beyond the training that we do initially, that we'll have ongoing training, monthly meetings on these sort of items, as well as end of year meetings, just to make sure that we're doing that continuous education and keeping everybody up to speed on not just the best and safest products, but what's best for the customer as well.
Yeah, and I think we just heard it through a previous guest on during the interview process, and especially for employees that are in homes technicians. One of his questions that he asked is, it would be, asking a question that generally wanting to find out that they have never been asked. So those training and those soft skills for someone to be out there as a technician, you got to be able to pass this information on. Like, hey, like what chemicals are you using? And you don't know, with so much information out there, any customer can really look into this as deep as they, as they would like. So that one customer will come up and say, hey, and this product is not supposed to be used, or is this something that's supposed to be used? Are you sure? And then that's where the technician should have that expectation of being able to answer that. Uh, is that something that you have come across? I'm sure.
Just prepare and our staff to be able to answer those difficult questions and be honest if they don't know the answer and say, hey, I'm not 100% sure, but let me reach out to management. That's one reason I'm so involved still on a daily basis, as well as the rest of our management, so we can be there for our team in those challenging situations to help them through it as well and still provide that great experience and accurate information to the customer.
Absolutely. I know I've been in the position where customers hit me up and it's like, well, that's a really good perspective. Let's look that label up and read it together.
Yeah, it's great. We've been able to kind of get to know a little bit more on the operational side of your business, or excuse me, on the customer service side of the business. But I think a big piece is the operational side, because that there's a lot of work that goes into implementing, good customer service and the way that your customers find you, marketing. But as you've grown to be, I think you said it was closer to 30 plus employees, or even 50.
Correct. Yeah. Well, about mid 30s right now.
So in that piece, you've had to improve a lot on the back end, the actual operational side, scheduling, routing, the efficiency of, how long a job should take for a technician in order to move on to the next. And, then therefore they get paid more, revenue keeps growing. What have you seen, even through probably technology or softwares, that you've been able to implement that has helped you, kind of grow the company?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing is just software, of course, digital age. When I first got started in the industry, 1997 was my introduction into, besides implementing that software and those other areas that the efficiency.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
good insight.
the software programs that are out now compared to a decade ago are light and day in their abilities to track things to allow for interactions with the customers. Yeah, big difference.
Absolutely. The built-in mapping features and so forth are so helpful because we can give customers answer and put time on the phone. If they're like, hey, how long is it going to be before your technician gets here? We can see on a map right clearly where they're at, how long it'll be there. We don't have to call them back, reach out, interrupt the technician during service to find out from him. We map it in real time and all and answer it. No, that's the goal. The goal is no matter who answers the phone, we can give the customer the service and the answer to any question they may have from start to finish with that initial phone call without a bunch of transport.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are some things that, definitely keep people shying away from, even reaching back out after that first phone call. Always that first impression that always mentions, which is always huge. And I mean, that first impression, I imagine, was a little different when you started out. So through the Trades podcast, we speak to a lot of business owners that either just starting or are looking to grow in their company as well, all throughout the country. And now that you mentioned that you've worked essentially every position within the company, you've probably had some setbacks. You probably had some things that you wish you didn't do, or things that you wish you could have said differently or done differently. Or
We call those learning opportunities.
yes,
Danny.
right, exactly.
It is, but yeah, I mean, in California, you have continuing education requirements. Do you have that in Texas?
Yes, absolutely. So the state has, depending on your license category, the requirements just to maintain your license. But as I said kind of earlier, we go way above and beyond that. We're usually doing monthly continuing education rather than annually.
Absolutely. Yeah. Throughout my career in the pest control industry, the amount of knowledge and continuing education you can continue to get far exceeds your ability to actually ever get it all of it done. There's always new things coming up, new opportunities to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have that good base of foundation, like to answer the customer's concerns or questions. But it's definitely not boring. You get to deal with something different every day, and especially like a company like ours that does specialize in multiple areas of the service industry as far as the rodents, wildlife, the termites, and the pest control. That's three solid areas that there's always something to learn and stay on top of things to be able to apply to stay ahead of the competition.
So you mentioned wildlife. Are you trapping animals also?
Yeah, absolutely. The most common rodent issue that most homeowners and businesses have are going to be roof rats, which we'll do trapping and then the exclusion work for. Like I said, it's just securing the buildings to the entry points to keep them out permanently is the goal. If we can do that, it's fully warranted and guaranteed. We also do all wildlife trapping as well: skunks, possums, raccoons, ringtail cats. Pretty much the majority of wildlife, what they would be considered.
Very good.
Sounds like a video series in the making. I'd love to see some of those highlights of those trapping skills. So, yeah, it's like you said, it's could be a very fulfilling business, but in the end, it's not for everyone. It's gonna take some different type of mentality to come in and learn these skills. But in the end, the education behind it that comes with it is by far splits, I think, what a lot of other construction industries don't have. And that's definitely what I think really puts pest control in a very unique niche of how it operates, what it takes to have a business like yours, and the level of professionalism that it takes to be in the dirty side and have a big operation behind it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember my first experience on the very first day on the job training. Uh, I was thinking we're spraying for bugs, and our first call was crawling under a home with a very small clearance, and we had to pull a cat out that expired. So that was kind of my introduction to the dirty side of things. But that didn't deter me, so I stayed on the path. 100% agree. It's not just some of the other industries you get that basic training and they just cookie cutter or plug that in and repeat that on a daily basis forever. Kind of adversity can definitely keep it more interesting.
Yeah. Question for you. You have multiple pest routes in the residential area. Do you rotate your technicians so that they're not doing the same route year after year?
Typically, that occurs with growth, and since we are fortunate to be growing pretty rapidly, we thing you want to do is work all day and be in traffic for 2 or 3 hours on top of it. So I try to minimize that as much as possible. So most of the route changing comes from that. But we do have a quality control supervisor that's in the field every day, circulating for continuing training as well with all of our team, as well as my partner, the vice president. He's out in the field much more assisting with that as well. And they're inspecting your work, training, just making sure the customers are getting the best possible service that we can see physically, but also with the communication side, seeing how they are communicating with the customer and make sure that we're keeping that at the forefront, that customer experience, which really comes through and shows in our reviews, our customer feedback.
Fantastic. And one thing we hadn't touched on is you have commercial work. Any
Yes,
uh,
sir.
any challenges out there and advice for other business owners that are thinking about doing commercial work?
For their satisfaction and that they want to see as well.
I love the saying it's a partnership out there. It's not you yelling at them to clean the place up and them yelling at you to spray more chemicals so they don't have to. Um, just had a experience with a local company here, and instead of yelling at them, I printed out a big old schedule of do the monthly cleaning in this area, the weekly cleaning in this area, the daily cleaning in this area. Gave it to him in a Word document so he could manipulate it to his thing, and he found that very helpful.
Yeah, it's good when you have a receptive customer that is open to, like you said, that partnership and not just, well, that's what we pay you guys to get rid of our bugs. We need your help as well, and it's an important part. Sanitation, especially in the restaurant industry and food handling establishments. Products are evolving, and there's some residuals that are out now that can be applied that act as baits, but really, when I first got started, the most effective treatment, for instance, for German cockroaches in a restaurant would be baits and gels. But when you have chicken nuggets or hamburgers laying underneath the tables, what's a roach dinner will need? want to go to this roach deal, or you're going to eat the fries and the burger. I want the fries and the burger. So, that's kind of how I would try to relate it to customers. Sometimes you can, tone it down and a little humor to get to it, but there's also some of those tough customers that just it's a little bit harder to get on board with that.
A little more challenging, that's for sure. And sometimes what I just came across out the back door, the cook on his break had bird seed in it. He was feeding the birds out there. There was no birds out there, but plenty of rats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there come the rats.
Yeah,
Even I'm fortunate with where we are to this point now that it gives a little bit of a freedom, so I'm able to do drop off in the mornings for my kids. I have a 7 and 8-year-old, and me and my wife off from the school. We were dropping them off this morning, walking right out of the school, and a big roof rat ran right in front of us, almost jumped on her feet. Of course, she screamed and went crazy, but they're out there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
We keep building into their own, home territory. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, good insight. Yeah, this is really good. I mean, again, we've had Jason right here, this president and CEO of A-Tex Pest Management out there in the Metro Austin area. Jason, just to learn more about your process, your procedures, your strategy, your employee retention, the softwares, and just the overall understanding who you are as a business owner, starting it from the ground up, and how you were exposed to it, business partners that you have. It's a lot of in-depth information that I think a lot of people can relate to, and absolutely take away a lot of information from what you've been able to build. So congratulations on your business and everything from your team and all the success you guys have been able to have out there. It's just been awesome to hear about it and be able to put it on this podcast for everybody to listen to.
So I appreciate you allowing the time and the platform to share a little bit, and hopefully people definitely get some good information and get a background on the industry and a good career path, or those wanting to seek a path to entrepreneurship.
Yeah. What's the best way to reach out to you if someone's looking to look for a job or has little to no experience and or wants to dig a little deeper on the business side of things? How do we reach out to you?
Sure, absolutely. The best way probably is just our website.
Fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you again. We're going to put that information out there. We just want to give another big shout out to our podcast studio right here. It's the Better Business Bureau Ignite studio that they have here in San Diego. Thank you so much for letting us record here. Jason, thank you again for coming on to the show to come talk to us a little bit more about your business. So I appreciate you and have a good rest of the day.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys as well.